Today we're going to talk about writing, and I'm going to give you 3 pieces of advice I wish I knew earlier, and if you make it to the end, I've got a 4th thing, just because you were so gracious as to make it to the end of this horrible video. Number 1, don't stress yourself out. The first draft of anything is shit, alright? It's that simple. I think the first go of anything you do is shit. I think that's representative of most things, right? The first time you do anything, it does not work out very well. It goes about as well as it could for your first time doing something. Think of the first draft in terms of sculpting. The first draft is a big ball of clay for you to shape and mold into whatever you want, into what it will eventually become. But the fact of the matter is, you can't make anything without the clay. It's more important for you to have a first draft that exists and that you can work from and that you can shape and edit and transform into the script or the story that you want it to be than it is for you to have a first draft that is perfect, because your first draft is never going to be perfect straight out the gate. That's just not the case, because the first draft is really just a rough collection of ideas. It is, for me, quite literally the definition of throwing shit at the wall, and then after that you just go in and you clean up the bits that don't work or fit. Number 2, take inventory. What do you own? What do you have access to? Who do you know? These are some of the most important questions to ask yourself. You have to recognize your limits, and then you have to constrict yourself to them and then write within them. This might be the most important piece of advice, especially for the director / writer / producer people in the audience. If you write to your resources, it's going to be a lot easier for you to make the thing happen at the end, right? It's going to make it a lot easier for you to make the movie if you write relative to what you have access to. If you start writing without an understanding of your limits, of your actors, your locations, your props, if you don't have any knowledge or any ideas to what those are or what they're going to be, you will probably end up just shoehorning a bunch of things together to make the script that you wrote work. Whereas if you're trying to write a script or a short film, a story that is going to, really play to your strengths, you're going to need to know what you have available so that you can write to them. If you know an actor, you have a friend of yours who you think could really knock a role out of the park, you're going to have to write to them. You're going to have to write the part for them, because that's sort of the world that we are in when we're independent with no money. It's you kind of have to write parts for people so that they can play them, if that makes any sense. I feel like it does. I think you get it. You get it. You get it. And I'm not saying you can't make your 1920s period piece. What I'm saying is that if you want to achieve, the vision that you have for that, once you take inventory of what you have, you'll probably have to drop it in scope, right? You'll have to scale it down in order to make it achievable with what you have. And that's really all I'm trying to make apparent to you with this, is that you need to know what you have so that you can understand how big the project is able to be. And odds are, if you have no money and you're an independent like me, trying to make movies because you just love doing it, you're just in it for the love of the game, then you probably got to scale it down. You're probably going to have to keep things minimal. I think the beauty in that is that if you make things simple, you can get really complicated in other ways. Complicated is the wrong word. You can get complex in other ways. Like if your story is really simple and you got one location and like 2 actors, you can put a lot of time into camera work. You can put a lot of time into cinematography, and you can really churn out a nice looking movie, and a good looking movie too, because the less moving parts you have to worry about, the less stress you have going in. Keep it simple. We're reading this one off the notes. The other 2 we kind of did a combination, but we're going straight in on this one. Number 3, have experience. You write what you know, and what you know comes from experience. Whether that be from you, a friend, or something you saw, it's all experience and things you know. So go touch grass. Live a little. Get outside, see the world. even if you're a bit of a lonely shut-in, you can still pull from that. Write a film about being alone. What does it mean to be alone? You know, you can really dive into anything. I think anything can functionally become a compelling and interesting narrative. And writing what you know, I think, is like a really easy way to start generating ideas. Obviously, if you're a bit of a lonely shut-in, you're a bit more limited in what your lived experience is, but you still have one. Everybody has a lived experience, and everybody has a different story to tell. But I think the overarching point of this section is that really, if you're making a movie and you're trying to tell a story and you're trying to create art, you got to put a little bit of yourself in the work. I believe Tarantino said something along the lines of, you should be embarrassed to show people your movie. And I think that that's true. Your movie should have some personal connection from you, and it should be, you should feel embarrassed about showing it to people, or not really embarrassed is probably the wrong word. I don't know. I feel like you should be shy. You should be kind of sheepish about showing it to people, because it should feel like you're laying yourself out a little bit. Because I think at the core of it, I feel like this is something that I had to come to learn myself, which is odd to say because it's almost really obvious, I think, in nature. Movies are emotional. Emotion drives story. I think emotion is the backbone to any compelling narrative. Emotion is human, really. And I think you need to put yourself, a little bit of yourself, in the script, in the story, so that it becomes human. Number 4, you have to do the work. I think a lot of us sit down and we watch thousands of hours of videos like this one in an attempt to feel productive without being productive. We're looking for shortcuts. We're looking for one simple trick to make your short film a success. Right? We're looking for that stuff. But the reality is, there are no shortcuts. There is no trick. You have to do the work. If you want better scripts, you gotta write more scripts. It is not a quality issue, I think, necessarily up front. It is a quantity issue. There's a strange fallacy in quality versus quantity, right? Most people, I think the obvious choice when people ask you the question of quality versus quality over quantity, right? You obviously want, like, one good thing is better than 100 bad things, but you need 100 bad things to get a good thing, right? You need to make a lot to get good at making the thing. So you need quantity before you can get quality. If you want better scripts, you gotta write more scripts. It's that easy. You have to put in the work. You have to. If you want better movies, you gotta make more movies. You want better scripts, you gotta make more scripts. You want better storytelling, you gotta tell more stories. It's that simple. If you want to get good at a thing, you have to do more of that thing. You have to keep working at it. You have to keep going through the process. You have to keep doing the reps, right? It's like going to the gym. You know, I feel like everybody uses this analogy. It's like going to the gym. You got to keep putting in the reps. You got to keep going. You got to keep doing it. And one day it becomes easy. It becomes second nature. Being a creative is a lifelong endeavor, but it's never too late to start. I think that's about everything I wanted to say today. So thank you all for watching. If you liked what you saw, leave a like, comment, subscribe. I'm looking to do more content like this, probably. I feel like it better caters to the YouTube audience. And if you want to see examples of my writing, or, you know, any other collaborator of the channel's writing, consider watching some of our short films. There'll be a thing on screen, I don't know, here maybe. It's going to be a thing. So you can go watch one of our movies and sort of judge us by our writing. But, you know, until next time, goodbye.